Hello everyone, and welcome to another video in our series of Texas Instrument Calculator and how to use the BA2 Plus calculator. In this series, we're going to cover a variety of topics on how to use the BA2 Plus calculator for financial or business math.
In this video, we will start looking at how to find amortization schedule, how to find the balance of final payments. So this is our first video in amortization schedule. Of course, using the BA2 Plus calculator. What is amortization schedule? Let's talk for a couple of minutes briefly on what is amortization schedule and some terminology before we start looking at how to use the calculator. So amortization schedule is a detailed table that breaks down each loan repayment. So far what we've been doing, we've been finding the present value, future value, or the PMT. What if I want to find exactly at any time the interest portion of the payment, the principal portion of the payment, and the payment itself? Okay, so we need to know the payment number, how many payments we're making, what's the amount of the PMT, what's the interest portion of the payment, we call it end, and what's the principal portion of the payment, PRN. The calculator will give us those, but the table, I will show you how to do the calculation briefly, and the calculator will give us anything we need, of course, the principal balance at any time. So this is what the amortization schedule or table would look like. So imagine if you have 250 or 260 payments. That's a huge table to do manually or by hand or even using spreadsheet. The calculator, all you have to do is enter the value, and you want the interest portion at whatever payment, or for the last 2 years or the first 2 years, or whatever 24th and 25th payment, you can specify that and you can get it. So the way it works, we have the PMT, which is the same, of course, except the last payment could be less based on what's left at the end. The interest is always the interest rate times the balance, which is the present value at that time. The principal portion is how much you paid minus how much interest for that period was. So you're paying part of the payment towards the principal and part towards the interest. And then, of course, to find it, we subtract PMT minus whatever the interest is, and the balance is the present value or the balance at any point minus the PRN that you paid towards your balance. And you keep going with this till the last payment, where the principal balance should be zero, and this is how much you paid in the interest. And of course, as we said, the PMT might be of lesser value because of the rounding off number of payments sometimes. This is the total amount paid if we add all of these. This is how much of that was the interest. This is how much of that was the principal portion. So if I add these two, you will get the total amount paid. So as you can see, it's a long and complicated table or schedule. We're going to make it easier by looking at the calculator. So the first step we have to do is, of course, find the interest rate, which if we're going to do the table, then first payment is 0 for the PV, then enter the PMT for all of them except the last one, and at each row you have to find the interest, which is previous balance multiplied by the periodic interest rate, PRN, the difference between the periodic payment and the interest portion as we explained, balance, which is the difference between the previous balance and the principal portion for this period, and of course you keep going with the rows till you reach the last step. The final payment, as we said, is calculated by looking at the balance for the last payment plus the interest for this period, and that would be your last payment. And it, as I said, it could be of lesser value than the other PMT. Okay, so how do we use the amortization worksheet instead of all this table and formula? So to do that, we're going to press on second amort, which is the one above the present value key, to open this worksheet. It's going to ask us for a couple of things, but keep in mind all of these are done after you've entered the values in the compound interest worksheet. So you have to enter the present value and the future value 0, or whatever the situation would be, looking for the number of payment or looking for the PMT. Then you come to the amortization worksheet. So P1 is the payment number. Where do you want to start? Could be the first payment, could be the 12th payment, could be the 36th payment. What do you want the worksheet to display? Could be everything. So if you want specific period, let's say the 12th payment, I will enter P1 as 12. Then you have to enter P2. From to what payment you want to see. If you want to see only the 12th payment, I will enter both P1 and P2 as 12. But if I want, for example, the second year, how many towards the balance, the interest, etc., then depending if it's monthly payment or whatever, so I will enter for P1 if it's monthly, then the 12th payment, and P2 will be the 24th payment or the 13th, 24th, depending on when the payment is made. Then you're going to get the balance, PRN, and the interest. So let's look at example, then we're going to look at the details. So here Sam received a loan of $20,000 at 5% compounded quarterly. If the loan is amortized for 8 years with payment made at the end of every 3 months, so quarterly, end of 3 months, you need to do what type of annuity is it. What was the balance on his loan after 1 year? So after 1 year, how many payments he made? I need to know the balance on his loan. So as I said, the first thing you have to do is, after identifying the annuity, enter the values in the calculator. So we're going to calculate the PMT first, then we're going to go and find the balance using the amortization worksheet. So to do that, it's similar to what we did with annuities before. We're going to enter N, which is the 8 years quarterly, right? So that's 32, interest rate is 5, PY and CY are 4, the present value is 20,000, future value is 0, and the PMT, after we enter all of that, would be 762.158, etc. So we need this for the amortization schedule, because remember, in the amortization schedule, we're just entering P1 and P2. So how does it know, the calculator, what is the PMT, what was the balance, etc.? We have to enter them first. So after we calculate the PMT, this is where we're going to go and look at the amortization worksheet. We're looking for the balance after the first year. So after we calculated the PMT, we're going to go to the second amort. We're going to enter P1 as 4 because it's after the first year. It's quarterly payment. So after the 4th payment, we're looking at the balance. And I want it only after the first year. I don't want how much they paid during the second year or during the first year. So I'm going to enter P2 also at 4. This will give me the balance after the 4th payment, which is the first year. Then I will get the balance, I will get the interest, I will get the portion. Let's grab the calculator and enter all of these. So here I have everything ready. I entered all the values. We have the PMT. Then we're going to go to second amort. We're going to enter P1 as 4. we're going to press enter. Going to go down, enter P2 as 4 as well, and we're going to press enter, and we're going to go down, and it will give us the balance 17,912.63460, which is the correct answer. So I will repeat. We're going to press Amort. Going to enter P1 as 4. Going to enter P2 as 4, and that's all what we need to do. This is the balance after the first year. This is principal after the amount paid after the first year, and this is the amount of the interest paid after the first year. So now we're going to look at how do we calculate the final payment. Remember, the final payment, there are different ways to find it, and it should be of a lesser amount. So there is the direct method where you adjust the balance before the final payment and you add to it the interest of the balance before the final payment. And this will give you the final PMT. Or there's the overpayment method, which means what? You take the final PMT, is what? It's the PMT minus the overpayment. The overpayment is how much did you pay on the last payment. So let's look at this question. Sam receives a loan to purchase PR firm. The interest on the loan required to make payment of $40,000. So we have the payment here at the end of every 6 months to repay the loan. What was the final payment on the loan? The final payment. So here, of course, we have to find N first because we have PMT, we have present value, we have future value, which will be 0, etc. So we're looking for N. We have to calculate N first before going to the amortization worksheet. So how do we calculate N? We're going to enter PMT is 40,000. Interest rate should be 10%. PY is 2. CY is 4 because compounded quarterly and making 6 months payment. Present value is 500 and the future value is 0. When we calculate N, we're going to get 15.1957, so 15 point whatever payments. We have to round up to 16 payments. As you can see, since N is decimal, that means the last payment, the 16th payment, would be of lesser value. So now we're going to go to the amortization worksheet and we're going to use the first method. Find the balance on the 15th payment, then find the interest on the 16 payments and add them. And this would be the value of the last payment. So you can see that he's not going to be making a 40,000 payment, the last payment. It's going to be just around 8,000. And the reason for that, N was 15.15, so it was very short amount after the 15th payment. The bigger the decimal, the closer the payment will be to the 40,000. Let's grab the calculator and find the result. Okay, so we see that I enter the value in the compound interest. We got N 15.19573. So now we're going to go to second amortization, and I'm going to enter 15 for P1, also 15 for P2, and I'm just going to get the balance out of that. So I'm going to store that in 1. Then I'm going to go back to the amortization worksheet. I'm going to change this to 16, P2 to 16, and I'm going to go to get the interest portion, which is 194. So I'm going to store that in 2. Then I'm going to recall 1 plus recall 2, and this would be the last payment, 7,907.42 or 43 after rounding.
Thank you for watching, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel for more videos on statistics using SPSS and Excel, among other things.